Rationalism is not merely a chapter in the history of philosophy, it is a powerful and enduring intellectual tradition that has shaped the modern mind. At its heart lies the conviction that true knowledge does not rest upon the shifting sands of sensory experience, which is subject to error and illusion, but upon the solid, unshakable bedrock of reason. In the rationalist worldview, reason is not just one tool among many for arriving at truth, it is the supreme instrument, the ultimate source of knowledge, and the final judge of its validity. Where empiricists look outward to the data of the senses, rationalists look inward to the mind's innate capacity for clear thought, logical deduction, and the apprehension of necessary truths. From this perspective, genuine understanding emerges not from the unreliable impressions of our senses, those fleeting shadows on the wall of Plato's cave, but from the mind's ability to grasp eternal principles through intuition and deduction. Many rationalists go further, insisting that the very concepts and categories that make thought possible are inborn, pre-inscribed into the human intellect as part of its natural architecture. Mathematical truths, moral principles, logical laws, and even the very idea of God are not learned from the outside world, but rather lie dormant within us, awaiting the spark of rational reflection to awaken them. For the rationalist, such truths are not discovered in the empirical flux, but recognized, recalled, in the Platonic sense, when the mind turns its gaze upon itself. The roots of rationalism can be traced far back into antiquity. It pulses in the dialogues of Socrates, where relentless questioning leads not to sensory confirmation but to conceptual clarity. It runs through the syllogistic logic of Aristotle, who sought to derive universal truths from self-evident axioms. It finds expression in the perfect lines of Euclid's Elements, where geometrical theorems unfold with absolute necessity. The Stoics, too, embraced a rational order to the cosmos, believing that human reason was a spark of the divine logos. Yet these were only the early stirrings. It was not until the intellectual upheavals of the 17th century, when the old medieval synthesis began to crumble and Europe stood on the threshold of modern science, that rationalism emerged in its most systematic, influential, and world-changing form. During this early modern flowering, a series of extraordinary thinkers sought to rebuild the entire edifice of human knowledge from first principles, placing reason at its very foundation. These philosophers, René Descartes, Baruch Spinoza, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, and Christian Wolff, would not only define the rationalist tradition but also profoundly shape the Enlightenment and the birth of modern science. Each brought his own genius. René Descartes, 1596–1650, born in La Haye-en France, later renamed Descartes in his honor, is rightly celebrated as the father of modern philosophy. Trained at the prestigious Jesuit College of La Flèche, he mastered mathematics, classical philosophy, and scholastic theology, yet grew dissatisfied with the confused disputes of the day. Like an intellectual engineer surveying a crumbling building, Descartes resolved to tear down inherited opinions and reconstruct knowledge from secure foundations. In his discourse on the method and meditations on first philosophy, he introduced his radical method of doubt. Suspending judgment on anything that could conceivably be false until arriving at a single, indubitable truth, cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. This insight became his Archimedean point, from which he sought to deduce all other truths. Descartes argued for the existence of innate ideas, such as the concepts of God, perfection, and infinity, which could not have been derived from the senses, since they surpassed anything empirical experience could provide. In metaphysics, he advanced Cartesian dualism, positing two distinct kinds of substance: residential cogitans, mind, immaterial and thinking, and residential extensor, body, material and extended in space. This framework allowed him to reconcile the mechanistic physics of Galileo with the soul's immortality, though it raised enduring puzzles about mind-body interaction. Beyond philosophy, Descartes revolutionized mathematics by creating the Cartesian coordinate system, uniting algebra and geometry, thereby laying the groundwork for modern calculus. His vision was that of a universe comprehensible through reason alone, a vast, ordered mechanism whose laws could be discovered by the human intellect. Baruch Spinoza, 1632–1677, born in Amsterdam to Portuguese Jewish refugees, took rationalism to an uncompromising extreme. Excommunicated from his community at just 23 for his unorthodox views, he lived a life of modest means, grinding lenses by day and constructing one of the most audacious philosophical systems in history by night. In his magnum opus Ethics, written in the austere style of Euclid's geometry, Spinoza declared that God and nature are one and the same, Dea sive natura, an infinite, eternal substance of which all finite things are mere modes. He rejected Descartes' dualism, insisting instead on monism. Mind and body are not separate substances but two attributes of a single reality. For Spinoza, the universe operates according to strict necessity. Everything that happens follows from the divine nature with mathematical inevitability. Free will, in the ordinary sense, is an illusion, but true freedom lies in understanding necessity and aligning oneself with it. His ethical ideal, the amor Dei intellectualis, intellectual love of God, is a serene joy that comes from perceiving one's place in the rational order of the cosmos. Spinoza's vision was at once deeply religious and entirely naturalistic. Miracles were impossible, and God was not a personal being who intervened in the world but the infinite, lawful order of reality itself. His political writings defended democracy, liberty of thought, and the separation of philosophy from theology, principles that would resonate in the Enlightenment. Though condemned in his time, his ideas later inspired figures from Goethe and Hegel to Einstein, who admired his conception of a God revealed in the harmony of natural law. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, 1646–1716, born in Leipzig, was a polymath of staggering range, philosopher, mathematician, diplomat, engineer, historian, and more. His philosophy sought to reconcile the truths of reason with those of faith, the mechanical science of the new age with the metaphysical depth of the old. In works such as Monadology, he proposed that reality is composed of countless simple, immaterial substances called monads, indivisible, windowless centers of force, each reflecting the entire universe from its own perspective. Monads do not interact causally, rather, they develop in perfect synchrony according to a pre-established harmony implanted by God at creation. Leibniz's God, the supremely rational architect, chose to create the best of all possible worlds. Not perfect in an absolute sense, but optimal among all logically possible arrangements of reality. He articulated two foundational principles of reason: the principle of sufficient reason, nothing happens without a reason why it is so and not otherwise, and the principle of the identity of indiscernibles, no two distinct entities can be identical in all respects. His optimism, though famously satirized by Voltaire in Candide, reflected his profound trust in the intelligibility of the world. Beyond metaphysics, Leibniz co-invented calculus independently of Newton, pioneered the binary number system essential to computing, and dreamed of a universal symbolic language, a characteristica universalis, capable of expressing all human knowledge and resolving disputes by calculation. Christian Wolff, 1679–1754, born in Breslau, became the great systematizer of rationalism, ensuring it spread far beyond the work of its founders. Drawing inspiration from Leibniz, Wolff transformed rationalist thought into a vast, structured system that could be taught, debated, and applied across every domain of inquiry. His philosophical works, written in both Latin and German, divided knowledge into meticulously ordered branches: logic, ontology, cosmology, psychology, natural theology, and practical philosophy, including ethics, law, and politics. Like Leibniz, Wolff upheld the principle of sufficient reason and saw the universe as a rational, harmonious order governed by God's will. He emphasized the pursuit of perfection, the development of one's capacities in accordance with reason, as the foundation of ethics. His clear, methodical style made him immensely popular among students and deeply influential on the German Enlightenment. Yet his bold application of reason to religious questions aroused hostility from pietist theologians, leading to a dramatic episode in 1723 when he was accused of fatalism, stripped of his position at the University of Halle, and ordered to leave Prussia under threat of execution. Protected later by Frederick the Great, Wolff returned in triumph, and his textbooks dominated German universities for decades. His thought left a strong imprint on the young Immanuel Kant, who would later critique rationalism but also synthesize its insights with empiricism in his own critical philosophy.